Good morning, and we're live from Council Chambers. So just before we get started here in Council Chambers, I'll just take a quick moment to read out the emergency response plan. So if there is an emergency, everybody needs to evacuate through the nearest safe exit. So those seated in the gallery behind me are going to take direction from security, who are over to my left, to evacuate. Those of you in council chambers, members of council, if you can take my direction to evacuate the chambers. After evacuating the room, please proceed to a stairwell and take the stairs to ground level and evacuate the building through the doors marked exit, and just go over to the muster point and we'll meet you there. Please do not take the elevator or walk through the city room. We're ready to go, Mayor Sohi.
Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to call this a special meeting to order. A non-regular meeting to order, sorry. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and Métis homeland, and acknowledge the diverse indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Gorasu, as well as Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. A roll call of council colleagues. Councillor Wright.
Good morning.
Councillor Knack.
Good morning.
Councillor Principe is away, right?
No, she's away with notice. Yeah, we've talked to her.
Yeah, Councillor Principe is away with notice. Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Paquette.
Good morning.
Councillor Tang.
Good morning.
Councillor Hamilton.
Good morning.
Councillor Rutherford.
Good morning.
Councillor Salvador.
Good morning.
Councillor Cartmel.
Good morning.
Councillor Rice.
Good morning.
And Councillor Jans.
Good morning.
Good. Adoption of the agenda.
I'll move adoption of the May 8th City Council non-regular meeting.
Thank you. Please vote.
Could we have
Oh,
a
sorry,
second?
second. Need a second.
Second.
Councillor Rice.
Second.
Okay. Please vote.
I'm
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor
Councilor
Jans.
Salvador.
Thank you,
Yes.
Councillor Salvador. Councillor Wright. We have all the votes.
Okay, display the votes, please. That is carried. Any protocol items? Seeing, Go Oilers, there you go. That's the protocol item for the day. Go Oilers, right up. Okay, select items for debate. There's only one to be selected.
I can select
Councillor
that.
Tang, 5.1, okay.
Sorry,
And
5.1.
5.1, and also
And 7.1.
7.1, both are selected, okay. Right. Nothing to vote on the reports not selected for debate. Request to speak, none. Request specific time on the agenda. Vote in bylaws, none. We don't have any bylaws, right? So, reports to be dealt to at a different meeting, none. Request to reschedule reports, none. And public report will be 5.1 at 11 a.m. Alberta Municipalities Protocol Meeting with Council, verbal report. And now can someone move? Sorry, Councillor Rutherford, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I miss 5.2? Did we not selecting 5.2?
We didn't add it to the agenda.
We did not add that to the agenda. We're going to wait for a conversation on 5.1 in camera. If there's need be, then we'll add it back.
Okay, because I definitely think there's public pieces that we should have added.
Yeah,
So my-
we will. We just want to get a perspective from Intergovernmental in camera. Then we'll come back after that. If council desires to add 5.2, we'll do that at that time.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, all right. Can someone move that we go in camera, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
In favor.
Thanks, Councillor Jans.
Councilor Salvador, yes.
Thanks, Councillor Salvador. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Well, hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm Tyler. You're having fun?
And so we're live on the web.
That's Tyler's Alberta is calling promotion.
Okay, are we done? Are we on? Okay.
We're ready to go.
All right, we'd like to call this meeting back to order. We are on to our time-specific item, 5.1, Alberta Municipalities Protocol, meeting with council. We have a delegation from Alberta Munis with us, but I'll do a roll call of council colleagues first. Councilor Wright,
Good morning.
Councilor Knack, Councilor Principe is away, Councilor Stevenson,
Good afternoon, good morning.
Councilor Paquette, Councilor Tang,
Hello.
Councilor Hamilton.
Hello.
I see Councilor Paquette is there. Councilor Rutherford,
Yes, hello.
Councilor Salvador,
Hello.
Councilor Cartmel,
Hello.
Councilor Rice,
Hello.
and Councilor Jans.
Hello.
Thank you. All right, I would like to welcome our delegation from Alberta Munis, Alberta Municipalities joining us. We have very limited amount of time, so instead of me giving a long introduction, why don't we just go over to you and you can do the introductions and make the presentation. But before you do that, I want to quickly welcome some students who are visiting us from school Devi Miller Heritage School Grade 6 class, and they are from Ward Papastio, and they are here with their teacher, Miss Jessica Bland. Your counselor is Counselor Jans. He is joining us virtually. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the trip, and we'll see you around. Are you here for a whole day or just part of the day? Part of the day. Are you here till noon? Okay. Well, if we're done early, we'll probably come and say hi to you, okay? Thank you so much. Yeah, cool. Nice to see you all, okay? All right, Tyler, over to you.
Thank you, Worship, and thanks again for inviting us here to be able to present Alberta municipalities to Edmonton City Council. So today I'm joined by my colleagues from Executive who will share in providing our brief update, and when we look forward to taking any questions that you may have. So I'd like to introduce our Executive. Andrew Knack, of course, you know. My name is Tyler Ganem. I'm the President of Alberta Municipalities. We have Councillor Peter DeMong, Vice President and Director for cities over 500,000. Councillor Krista Gardner, who is not here today, is the Vice President and Director of Towns. Deputy Mayor Deborah Reed Mickler is the Vice President and Director of Villages and Summer Villages. And Councillor Dylan Bressy, Vice President and Director, Cities up to 500,000. That's us. And we've got staff here today. Dan Rood is our CEO. Ashley Morgan, Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer, and Jeff Henwood, Senior Director, Policy and Advocacy. The City of Edmonton has representation on 3 of our 6 standing policy committees, as well as our EPR working group. Through these committees, you help to shape Alberta municipalities' policy and advocacy on top priorities. We benefit from the expertise that your councillors and admin provide, and I hope you benefit from the information and networking opportunities provided at these committees. I know our administration particularly appreciates the strong working relationship we have with your administration in the Intergovernmental Affairs Office. And with that, I'll turn it over to Deborah.
Thank you, Tyler. Climate adaptation, flood and drought mitigation. Last year, we released a Future of Municipal Government paper looking at municipal adaptation to a changing climate and how this will impact infrastructure decisions. This year, we are faced with another type of extreme weather event, a severe drought, with impacts to municipal infrastructure. AB Munis is working with the province to support municipalities as they prepare for the drought. We've partnered with RMA on a series of webinars and held a drought education session at our Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus featuring EPCOR. The Sustainability and Environment Committee has chosen to focus on updating the AB Munis water conservation policy. The current policy set per capita water usage targets at a 30% reduction by 2020 from 2006 levels for municipalities. Our members achieved this. We are now assessing what the next water targets will look like. Members will be engaged on this issue. AB Munis is well positioned to support municipalities in reducing and managing climate change risks with recent investment by the province into our Municipal Climate Change Action Centre and our ongoing asset management capacity building program. Edmonton is well positioned to help shape and benefit from these programs. Thanks to your participation in our boards and committees. And I'll move on to issues of Bill 20, declining the invite to party. At our Municipal Leaders Caucus in March, Minister McIver and Premier Smith confirmed that they plan to bring forward legislative amendments to allow political parties on the election ballot. With the introduction of Bill 20, it is almost certain that this will be the case in Edmonton and Calgary in October 2025. We have taken strong opposition to this issue from the beginning, since 95% of our members approved a 2023 resolution opposing a movement to political parties at the municipal level. We generated significant media coverage encouraging Albertans to complete the province's survey, where the results showed that 70% of Albertans oppose municipal political parties. After hearing the Premier's remarks a few weeks ago, we decided to make one more public push in the hopes to change the Premier's mind. We sent another letter to the Premier and Minister McIver outlining options to increase transparency in municipal elections. Those options include reduce campaign contributions to $2,500 to ensure large donors don't drown out the voice of grassroots Albertans. require candidates to file pre-election disclosure statements on financial contributions received, increase the rules on third-party advertisers, such as establishing a maximum contribution limit per donor, requiring monthly reporting by third-party advertisers, and establishing annual limits and disclosure requirements outside of the election year. And when candidates sign their nomination form, they should be required to acknowledge Section 153 of the MGA, which sets out responsibilities of councillors. This includes compliance with the municipality's code of conduct and considering the welfare and interests of the municipality as a whole, rather than a political party or slate. We emailed all members encouraging them to talk to their MLA and local media about why political parties will increase divisiveness on municipal councils and how it doesn't align with the MGA. Our solutions received excellent traction in the traditional and social media. Unfortunately, the province decided to ignore our recommendations. We have come out strongly against Bill 20, and we will continue to advocate for changes in the week ahead. Moving on to recall, which I know is also in front and center in many of our minds. As for the issue of recall, we again have many concerns. Last month, we sent a letter to Municipal Affairs requesting that the Minister pass a regulation under the MGA that sets out rules that, 1, require recall petition organisers to be more transparent about why a councillor should be recalled. 2, add a rule to prevent petition organisers from offering financial incentives to sign a petition. We heard this from Medicine Hat and their recall petition, and so we've been loud and clear on that one. And add rules for fundraising for petitions, as this is included in MLA recall rules, but for some reason was not included in the MGA. We also have concerns that recall petitions could be used for data mining to prepare for the upcoming elections, and there is no requirement for the petition organizer to submit the final list of signatures if it is insufficient, as that would improve transparency and potentially repair the councillor's reputation. We've also asked for the Minister to engage in a long-term review of the rules for all petitions to address inconsistencies in the rules, particularly as it relates to the required number of signatures. Overall, we don't like the idea of recall at all, but since the province introduced these rules, we are seeing what we can do to improve the rules that are or are not in place. And with that, I will hand over to my colleague, Councillor Peter Demont.
Thank you, Deb. The issues of political parties and recall do relate to the overall decorum of respect of one another. Our board recently approved an action plan for steps we can take to help foster a culture of respect within the municipal sector. This includes relations between councillors, council and administration, and with the public. Examples of some of the things we are starting to work on include educational videos and resources to help people who are considering running for council to understand what the job entails. Geez, I wish I'd had that first. We want to humanize the role of a councillor so that the public is more understanding of what it means to walk in your shoes. After the 2025 municipal election, we plan to have tools in place for councils to self-assess their conduct and address microaggressions within council relationships. We also want to host training for mayors and councillors to run meetings. Leadership skills and tips for dealing with conflict within council and or conflict with residents. We will continue to advocate for the province to create an independent integrity officer to investigate and rule on code of conduct issues. There are a number of other actions that we have planned, and if you want to learn more, please contact our advocacy team. Provincial Priorities Act. In consulting with other municipal associations, it is our collective understanding that Bill 18 will not apply to federal funding administered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities or federal grant programs that flow to the province or include them as a co-founder. We are following up to confirm this assessment. As we advocate to the province on this legislation, we will seek to be included in the development of regulations that Bill 18 indicates will set out criteria and requirements for agreements the province will approve. We are also looking to have meaningful conversations on municipal priorities when it comes to the province stepping between the federal government and municipalities. We will also be looking for similar legislation that already exists in Quebec for, and lessons learned that should be avoided so that essential services municipalities provide, Albertans don't get held up in red tape. Overall, we have many questions and concerns about this legislation. For example, Alberta Munis agrees that our communities deserve a share of federal funding, but wonder how Bill 18 result in more federal dollars flowing to the benefit of Albertans. Knowing one size does not fit all, we wonder how Bill 18 will ensure the unique local needs of Alberta's diverse communities are respected. AB Munis and municipalities across Canada are concerned about the conditions that the federal government is proposing to add to the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly known as the Gas Tax Fund. The province, by focusing its efforts on legislation such as Bill 18, is missing an opportunity to partner with us to advocate for the federal government to increase and improve its funding for the benefit of Albertans. Alberta Municipalities has been working with FCM and RMA to share information and align our advocacy on this issue. AB Muni's advocacy team will continue to update members on Bill 18 as we learn more. Mental health, addictions, and homelessness. Alberta Municipalities has long supported our big cities' call for increased provincial investments to effectively address the interrelated issues of mental health, addictions, and homelessness. Mental health and addictions, along with affordable housing and homelessness, continue to be key priorities for our Safe and Healthy Communities Committee. We have 6 active resolutions related to affordable housing and homelessness, 1 related to the drug poisoning crisis, and 1 related to both addictions and housing. At a high level, our resolutions call for the province to 1, provide a continuum of affordable housing options accessible to all Albertans, including emergency shelter spaces, particularly in extreme weather conditions, and permanent supportive housing. 2, adopt a comprehensive drug poisoning strategy that includes prevention, intervention, recovery, and harm reduction services, as endorsed by public health best practices. The responses from the province have been disappointing to date, to say the least, and this has been frustrating for our boards and committees. However, we are beginning to see our smaller municipalities, as well as RMA, become more vocal about these issues. We are currently exploring the possibility of holding a summit on these topics in partnership with RMA and the Western Canadian Municipal Association. The summit would be geared towards the impacts on more rural communities and may be an opportunity to strengthen our call for provincial action to address these issues as they become more pronounced outside larger centres. While Alberta municipalities will not be advocating for any one municipality or type of municipality to receive funding at the expense of another, we do think that improving access to mental health addictions and affordable housing supports and services in smaller communities could lessen the burden on urban centres. And now I'll hand it over to Councillor Dillon.
Great, thank you. The fiscal capacity of our members is a top concern of us. And with that, we've been talking a lot about infrastructure funding. The starting amount of the LGFF capital funding pot is insufficient to take care of Alberta's community infrastructure. The province's level of investment in community infrastructure has been declining for many years. In 2011, the province spent 3.7% of its expenditures on municipal infrastructure. In 2023, it was only 1%. In 2011, the province spent $420 per Albertan on Alberta municipal infrastructure. This year, it will only be $186 per Albertan, excluding federal funding. If per capita funding levels had been maintained and adjusted for inflation, municipalities would be receiving almost $2 billion today. At the current starting amount of $722 million, it could take about 20 years for municipalities to receive the same funding level received under MSI between 2010 and 2019. The province currently extracts $2.7 billion from municipalities through education property taxes, and we ask that $1.75 billion be returned through LGFF capital. The province is passing the tax burden onto property tax owners and renters by forcing municipal governments to cover the majority of local infrastructure costs using property taxes. Alberta is calling. As our economy and population grow, investment in municipal infrastructure is critical. The province needs to step up and increase its support for communities to keep roads, pipes, police and fire services, parks, pathways, libraries, and recreation centers up to date. Without that support, municipal property taxes will need to soar, or Albertans will experience crumbling infrastructure and less chance of attracting people to our province. At our fall convention, 98% of our member municipalities voted in favor of a resolution that the Government of Alberta increase the starting amount of LGFF capital to $1.75 billion. Following that vote, we held a press conference to draw attention on the matter that Mayor Sohi participated in, and we extend our thanks through you to him for standing with us. So while the province didn't deliver in Budget 2024, this remains a top advocacy priority for us. Since the province hasn't agreed with our position on the need to increase the LGFF funding pot, we know we need to pivot in our advocacy on funding support. To strengthen this advocacy, we are planning to conduct new financial research that can strengthen our case with this government and with the public. This research will look at issues such as the combined tax burden of provincial and municipal taxes across Canada. We will look at the significant impact of inflation and the health of municipalities. We will look to better demonstrate the cost of growth on municipalities and quantify the cost to provide infrastructure to schools, hospitals, and other provincial buildings. We also hope the research will strengthen the case for restored grants in place of taxes funding, building on the case Mayor Sohi made to the Premier at our Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus. We hope to start releasing snippets of our research this fall. That'll pass it back to Peter.
And on to resolution update. Alberta Municipalities continues to make progress on resolutions sponsored by the City of Edmonton. The status of the fall resolution on e-scooters is the Ministry of Transportation and Economic Corridors has completed an evaluation of pilot programs that were ran in Edmonton and other municipalities, and the Minister aims to share the results of that evaluation and future plans this fall. In response to the resolution regarding provincial support for downtowns, business districts, and main streets, the Minister of Jobs, Economy and Trade, Matt Jones, detailed several steps the Government of Alberta has taken to support downtowns and main streets, including $10 million to assist downtown revitalization in both Calgary and Edmonton in Budget 2022, flexibility in the local government fiscal framework program to support streetscape improvement projects contributing to downtown vitality, such as signs, street lighting, and sidewalks, as well as a flexibility to direct LGFF funding toward projects supporting existing and new businesses and industrial districts, including rehabilitation and construction of road, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure. The ability to pass a bylaw to form a business improvement area to advance commercial vibrancy in a specific area. The Community Revitalization Levy program is a financial tool which can be used to revitalize an area where redevelopment is hindered due to significant and persistent barriers. Changes to CEIP, Alberta Municipalities have planned member engagement around Edmonton's suggested changes to understand how they affect municipalities with active climate and CEIP programs. This engagement will inform our advocacy strategy on the resolution. And lastly, in terms of the resolution on advancing action on Alberta's drug poisoning crisis, although the province continues to emphasize recovery as a key element in addressing addiction, both mental health and addiction staff and the Mental Health and Addictions Advisory Council have acknowledged that harm reduction is a necessary part of the continuum of supports that the province seeks to provide. The Safe and Healthy Communities Committee met with the Chief of Staff for the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction and the Acting Deputy Minister of Mental Health and Addiction to emphasize the importance of harm reduction, as well as inquire about the funding for harm reduction initiatives and links between recovery communities and homelessness prevention. Alberta Municipalities' 2023 election strategy also highlighted the need for a comprehensive plan to address these issues and support community health and safety. Average vote result based on the type of mover of our resolutions. When it comes to resolutions, we have heard from some cities that they don't get as much support from towns and villages when city-sponsored resolutions are up for a vote. We wanted to understand if that was a perception or a reality. So we looked back at the resolution voting results over the last 7 years. We found that no matter what type of municipality sponsors a resolution, the average percentage in favor is about the same, at about 79 to 81%. The average is higher when the resolution is sponsored by our board. Resolutions that have been sponsored by villages have received lower levels of support, but that could be chalked up to the fact that over the past 7 years, only 4 resolutions were sponsored by villages, and so the average of those votes is more strongly influenced by one vote result. We made a detailed presentation about this at our Spring 2024 Municipal Leaders Caucus, and our general findings were that when a resolution is defeated, It's usually because the resolution is outside of municipal scope or is of a highly political nature. To help improve our resolution process, we changed our policy this year so that the mover and seconder of a resolution need be of significant population difference, where we will see a resolutions co-sponsored by a city and town or city and a village. The purpose of this change is to increase communication and education between our member municipalities, which will also help resolution sponsors to understand how smaller or larger municipalities may perceive a resolution before it hits the floor at convention. And now back to President Gandam.
Thank you very much. So each summer, Alberta Municipalities hosts our Summer Municipal Leaders Caucus in 4 to 5 different locations around the province. This format allows our members to sit down with fellow leaders from their region and discuss common issues affecting their communities. Summer MLC is our least formal event focused on fostering a day of discussions among our members. The caucuses are scheduled for the 2nd and 4th weeks of June, as shown in our slide. We'll be starting up north in Falher and concluding in Innisfail. Issues for discussion will be topical. Registration is open, and you can find the link to register on our events page, along with the agenda and more information about venues and accommodations. So we'll be close by in St. Albert if you guys would like to join us there. I know that many municipalities see the big city members of council as rock stars in their own, so to have you guys there and share your expertise and kind of rub elbows with us smaller communities really has an impact. Karen knows this because she visits many. So thanks again for helping us host our wonderful convention in 2023. We hope you'll make the trek down Highway 2 to join us in Red Deer on September 25th to 27th. We are putting together a dynamic agenda that will provide opportunity for members to engage with provincial government officials and take part in practical sessions dealing with a wide range of issues. And thanks again for the opportunity to provide you guys with an update today. With that, I want to turn the floor back to you for discussion, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, let me express our gratitude on behalf of entire council. I want to show our appreciation for all the work that all of you have done at Alberta municipalities. All the issues that you have raised and concerns and the advocacy you have done is absolutely aligned with the work that this council has been doing, whether it's recent bills, whether it's the drug poisoning crisis, houselessness, and fiscal framework. I don't think we have any diversions around when it comes to our joint advocacy, and you have done phenomenal work. So I want you to know that we appreciate the work that you have been doing, and this council is absolutely committed to our ongoing support for Alberta municipalities, and we will continue to support and be with you in our collective efforts to advancing our shared agenda of building better cities and better communities. Doesn't matter the size of the community. We are here. We are in this together. And the more ways we can find to work together, the better all of us will be. So thank you so much for all the work you have done. And I will open up for questions to council members. Before I do that, I want to welcome some students who are joining us today from school Tavi Miller Heritage School. Don't know which class is it. Which class is it? Okay, which grade? Sorry, grade 4 and 5. And Ward Papasto, and your ward councillor is Councillor Jens, who is joining us virtually. Thank you so much for being here. We are actually talking about how all of Alberta's municipalities, cities, towns, and villages can work together to build better communities that you would like to continue to stay and live in pride. So thank you so much for joining us. And with that, to council colleagues, Councillor Tang, you go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
So as a token of our appreciation to all of you, we're going to give you these Oilers jerseys, right? Particularly, Tyler, you'll wear this with pride, right? And if you want, come join us cheering for Oilers, you're welcome to do that too. So we'll hand them over to you a little later on.
I don't think we'll have time, Your Worship. We have to get out of here really quickly.
Good. Okay, Councillor Tang, go ahead, please.
Yeah, great. Thank you all very much for being here. Want to touch on Bill 18 and 20, in fact, perhaps more so Bill 20. Can you speak to a little bit about the conversations, any kind of engagement the minister has had with yourself, Tyler, or President Ganem, or with AB Muniz? He's been talking a lot about, certainly there has been a lot of engagement going on, which is would like you to maybe elaborate on that and what, I guess, next steps might be.
Sure. Thanks, Councillor Tang. I had one conversation with Minister McIver on Thursday morning over the phone. He updated me on 2 amendments that they were looking at changing. I had expected maybe further discussions or consultation with the province or even with Minister McIver, and have not received that to date. So my last conversation with Minister McIver was Thursday morning, just before lunch. And moving forward, Alberta Municipalities is hosting a webinar through our lunch hour today. We've got, I think, over 400 people registered for it to give a breakdown of what Bill 20 is, and then maybe some advocacy efforts that they can do on their part within their communities, to their local MLA, passing motions in council in opposition to Bill 20 if they feel that way. And we'll continue to provide media statements and interviews as requested.
Excellent. So since your phone call on Thursday, nothing in writing has been shared with you or the organization, just to confirm on that?
Nothing in writing and no further conversations beyond Thursday morning at 11:50.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Wondering, question to Deborah, Deputy Mayor, and one, can you speak a little bit about the reception in rural, smaller communities, and particularly how you, representing Alberta municipalities, is perhaps any kind of shared, whether advocacy or position with our sister organization, the Rural Municipalities Association?
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Yes, actually I was at a meeting on Friday, which was a combined meeting of Alberta Municipalities members and RMA members, and there was a clear unification. In fact, somebody mentioned that they'd never seen this particular group of people so unified on one issue, and that was Bill 20. We had 2 MLAs in attendance, and I think they got a very clear, loud message from rural Alberta that this was not appropriate. The bill has many, many flaws in it. I think the statement was said to us at the beginning of the meeting, well, you're only concerned with about 2 or 3 items, which out of an omnibus bill of 29, we think we've done a pretty good job. I have to admit the room laughed and said, reverse the numbers and you're on about par. So it was a very active discussion. I will say the MLA stayed for 2.5 hours to discuss these issues with us. So it turned into a very long meeting. But a lot of RMA members were reaching out to me also to ask if they could attend today's webinar. So
excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. Back to President Ganem. On the political party side of things, we know the minister has indicated this is just going to affect the big cities, 2% of all municipalities. Can you speak to the fact that, the impact will be potentially just on the 2 municipalities, but do you and do the organization and our members feel is that where the impact is only going to be limited to there?
First of all, 2 municipalities out of 330 isn't 2%. But there will be an impact throughout the province through many of our communities and our municipalities. When councils sit down and meet and they start talking about snow clearing, improving infrastructure, building recreation, parks, those types of amenities in our communities are nonpartisan. So to imply that there isn't going to be a significant impact to municipalities moving to a party system, I think is not being honest with themselves or not understanding the role of members of council.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I'm looking forward to seeing those jerseys, Oilers shirts on everyone, especially Councillor Demong. Will you wear that, Councillor Demong? That's my first question.
I will wear it tonight.
Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. I only have one because obviously, I get to serve on the executive, so I get to see a lot of this. I just wanted to double check because I know Councillor Tang asked it multiple times, but I was just sent, just as she was asking that question, the YouTube link to the Alberta government's announcement today where Minister McIver was asked about engagement on Bill 20. And he said the same thing in question period. So I want to be 100% clear. Alberta municipalities put out a statement on Friday that talked about I would suggest it was sort of referencing the lack of engagement at that point and expressed a desire to be able to engage on that. His statement today seems like he's suggesting that he's spoken with you recently, but what I heard you say, and so I'm just one more time confirming because this came out just like an hour ago, was that you have not spoken to him since Thursday at noon.
I have not spoken to Minister McIver since Thursday at 11:50.
11:50, okay. And you have not been given any indication you've not seen in writing any amendments. Again, I heard you say Councillor Tang, I heard Councillor Tang ask that, but I'm just trying to square the circle of what I've just watched on the government's own YouTube feed, so.
I have not received anything in writing or proposals of amendments other than the repealing of bylaws and removals of members of council, which was part of that discussion on Thursday morning.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't know what's coming. Okay, otherwise I don't have any questions. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not there. Unfortunately, I just came back from being away, but thanks for being with our council today. So that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor Sohi.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thank you so much. Really just want to echo the mayor's thanks for all the advocacy work you're doing. I think all of these points are relevant, not just to Edmonton, but all of Alberta, clearly. But really appreciate the excellent advocacy that's there and the data that you've compiled to be able to help us advocate effectively. I maybe just want to touch on, something that I didn't hear too much around is just some of the financial impacts of Bill 20 when it comes to the running of elections. I'm wondering what you're hearing from other municipalities in terms of those costs.
I think there will be the potential for a lot of financial impacts, especially for some of the smaller municipalities who might not be set up with IT or audio and visual to be able to put their council meetings out live. Vote tabulation machines not being used, I think, has a tremendous potential for a financial impact, having to hire more staff. Sorry.
And
and the voter list, sorry, thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Has there been any discussion with the provincial government about providing funding to offset some of those costs?
We asked about that as well, and there didn't seem to be an indication that they would be providing financial support for the impacts of Bill 20.
Okay. Then it wasn't highlighted in your presentation. Bill 13 is one that I'm still sort of wrapping my mind around in terms of land sales. So my understanding is that municipalities won't be directly impacted by that, but some of the organizations we work with, particularly school boards, is that on the radar of other municipalities as well, and concerns being raised there?
Does anybody else know? Yeah, I'll pass it to Councillor Bressie.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's always awkward being a councillor at these things. Can't speak on behalf of your municipality, but I can flag in Grand Prairie, we had a public conversation this week about a rec facility we're hoping to put on school board owned land. And I'm personally very worried about the delays that this could introduce into that. It's just an unknown that's just adding that extra complication, an already really complicated project for us.
That's an interesting case where some of those partnership opportunities are either lost or just become much more complicated and difficult to do. I think my last question is just, I think I heard mention about the webinar happening at noon hour. You suggested that there might be some proposed wording for resolutions for councils to pass. Did I hear that correctly?
I know that a couple of municipalities have already developed those motions or have passed those motions, so we could absolutely pass that along as well.
Perfect. I think having a sneak preview of those before the noon webinar would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Wright?
Thank you. So reference was made to it just being 2 out of 330 municipalities. But what percentage of the Alberta population would that be?
About half.
About half? And then, but that's just Edmonton and Calgary proper. That doesn't include the surrounding municipalities that maybe that access the services and programs that are provided by Edmonton and Calgary. And then, I'm looking also or concerned with, our infrastructure, our roads and that those other surrounding municipalities play or use. So what sort of role can they play, I guess, with, you'd mentioned, I think, a meeting with a couple of MLAs that was had this past week. And I'm assuming those are from the government or the opposition MLAs?
Sorry, from the government.
From the government. So is there more that surrounding or municipalities can
I think
do?
taking every opportunity to speak with their MLAs at this point in time. Any message that we can get through the MLAs to get into government, I think, is going to help us.
Okay, so it's not just an Edmonton and Calgary issue. It's provincial,
No,
right? Okay.
It's provincial.
Okay. And I did have. I'm just looking back at on your slide presentation number 8, where you talk about, I think it's the mental health addictions, and those are all responsibilities of the province, right? But then you had mentioned you had a discussion with the minister about some harm reduction initiatives. I don't think you followed up with what his response was.
Or you can get back to.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely. It was a meeting with the deputy minister.
Oh, it was deputy.
And so, and for information.
Oh, okay, so not necessarily a response needed, okay, okay, that's all I've got right now, thank you.
Thank you. So just a couple of questions. Sorry, I gotta see the chair actually. We're not in camera anymore. Councillor Stevenson, yeah.
I have the chair.
Thank you. So I know on Bill 20, there's overwhelming opposition. We're all aligned, and MLAs are hearing those concerns from smaller communities, rural communities. What has been the reaction in those communities to Bill 18? Because that is pretty damaging piece of legislation as well. Like, what is mid-sized cities, say, small communities and rural communities are thinking about Bill 18?
I think because the details weren't clear on which agreements would or wouldn't be affected. My understanding when I first had a look at Bill 18 is that all federal government municipality agreements would be affected. And after having a conversation with the minister after that, hearing that agreements like Canada Post, those types of agreements wouldn't be affected. So I think the biggest concern is that municipalities who are applying for federal grants have to fit into the provincial priority before it'll get passed along to the federal government.
Yeah.
So there's definitely concern about that, because the City of Edmonton applying for a grant or the Village of Dutchess applying for a grant have different needs.
Yeah.
And so whether that's helping out one of the two municipalities, if it doesn't meet that provincial priority, then it's not going to be passed along to that federal government. So there's concern for sure that what each other's priorities are might not fit the bill of what the province has in mind, and that's for sure concerning. Yeah,
because I go back to my federal minister experience dealing with the province of Quebec, and the delays in infrastructure project was significantly longer in accessing federal funding for those municipalities than has been other municipalities. So if the Alberta government wants to follow the Quebec model, it's going to definitely create a lot of red tape and delay projects. Are you in touch with the Quebec Municipalities Association, just understanding what their experience has been.
Just in the process right now of arranging a meeting with them next week.
Okay, I think that'll be good lesson in a way, that learning how they have felt about province's ability to kind of restrict or be in the middle of those negotiations. Yeah. Because I remember negotiating one contract, those took months and months and months. So because they had to go through the province every time there was one issue. They had to go back to the province. Then province has to get back to the municipality. Then municipality back to province and the feds. It's just a nightmare of red tape that this government doesn't want to create, right? So maybe through that there'll be further opportunity for engagement. So thank you for that. Appreciate all the advocacy and all the work you have been doing. Can someone move that we receive the presentation for Councillor Tang? You want to do that?
Happy to receive this for information.
Okay. Councillor Knack, you want to second that?
I would be happy to second it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have this motion on the floor now to receive this for information. Anyone care to speak? If we are, I am going to, keeping the timing in mind, I'll restrict that to 2 minutes for closing remarks, if that is okay with everyone. Councillor Paquette.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few words. It's first of all, thank you to our guests and for the great information they provided us, and I hope they enjoy their Oilers jerseys, as I know they will. It's clear these bills are not just solutions in search of problems, but they are not governance-based. They are politically based. Albertans elect representatives to govern fairly and with an eye to ensure policies, bylaws, and legislation are rooted not only in facts and data, but also protect against abuses that could potentially undermine our democratic institutions. In Alberta, municipalities are the last bastion of independence and good faith debate and cooperation. These bills, Bill 18 and Bill 20, undermine our institutions and throw uncertainty and greater costs onto municipal budgets, and therefore into the budgets of people who are just going over their bills at the kitchen table trying to make ends meet. I understand that retreating from these bills is a political impossibility for the province at this time. But my fervent hope is that municipalities and all elected officials can make plain to their residents and constituencies the negative costs and impacts these bills will have. The ultimate test for fairness in considering these things is, would you want your opponent to have these powers? If the answer is no, the approach must be reconsidered. There is still time for sober second thought, and I hope the province sees the sense of this, not as a cynical exercise in politics, but as a sensible function of governance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Councillor Tang to close.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. I have the great pleasure of serving on the board of Alberta Municipalities with the folks who presented today, and very much want to thank you all for this presentation. It's very timely, obviously. And, at this time, I feel, when I ran in 2021, never have I imagined I would have the honor of dealing with this kind of turmoil. But, I feel local democracy is absolutely facing unprecedented threat. It's a time when politics everywhere is becoming more polarized than we've ever seen. So when an association that represents 265 municipalities in this province, combined with the Rural Municipalities Association, over 300 members, this is all communities across the province have become so unified on so many of these issues. We have to question, are we on the right track for this province? And without coming together on issues, whether it's impacting the big city, because that has a ripple impact everywhere, without coming together and fulfilling the mandate of the Association of Strengths in Numbers, we can't actually make significant progress. So just want to thank the board, the executive, the board, and all the staff working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that, we get our voices across, that we get our priority across to our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. So please vote.
Councillor Jans?
In favor.
Thanks so much. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Thank you so much. Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, I'll move that the following addition be made to today's agenda, the addition of item 5.2, a Bill 20 update verbal report.
Okay.
Second?
Thank you. So please vote.
Just sending the vote out now.
In favor.
Thanks, Councillor Jans. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. So this is a verbal update from our clerk on the implications of Bill 20. You're welcome to stay if you wish to do so. I'm going to pass on the chair to Councillor Stevenson for Councillor Knack. You want to chair virtually?
No, because I might have a motion on this.
Councillor Stevenson, you go ahead, and I'm going to hand out the jerseys to the folks. Yeah.
Happy to take the chair. We've got a hot mic. Thank you very much. We will go to our administration for a presentation when you're ready. You go ahead.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, please.
Great. So thank you very much, Councillor, for having us here this morning to give a bit of an update on our initial assessment of Bill 20. So I'm here as the City Clerk and the Returning Officer, and with me today is the Director of Corporate Records Information Management and Election Planning, as well as the Substitute Returning Officer, Tara Ward, and Nancy is here as our legal counsel for this item. Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Tara.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. We're here to speak to Bill 20, and I will focus on the implementation of the 2025 Edmonton general election, and particularly the impacts on that from Bill 20, before passing it over to my colleague Nancy Jacobson to speak to the MGA changes. Just to give a bit of context, the Edmonton election, or the next Edmonton election, will be held on Monday, October 20th, 2025, where eligible electors will cast their ballots for Edmonton City Council, so mayor and 12 councillors, Edmonton School Division trustees, Edmonton Public School School Board, and Edmonton Catholic Separate School District. Next slide, please. Thank you. The legislative and planning framework for the Edmonton election is multi-layered. The overarching legislative framework comes from the Municipal Government Act, the Local Authorities Election Act, and the Education Act. It's under the authority of the LAEA that the City of Edmonton has entered into agreements with both the Edmonton Public School Board and Edmonton Catholic Separate School District to act as the election administrator, and our returning officer is their returning officer, and this is a cost-shared arrangement. The City of Edmonton also then delegates authorities and establishes procedures within its elections bylaw. based on the framework of the authorities given within the Local Authorities Elections Act. And then, in addition to meeting all legislative requirements, Edmonton Elections has 5 guiding principles that guide all major decisions within the project. And those are accessible, inclusive, equitable, ethical, and safe. Next slide, please. The Edmonton election is a multi-year project cycle, officially launching 24 months before Election Day. We are currently 17 months out from the next election. And this is just an overview of the different timelines at play heading into the 2025 Edmonton election. This includes the province's review of the Local Authorities Elections Act, including the introduction of Bill 20 and any potential regulations coming forward, key council decision points, and Edmonton elections planning and operational implementation timelines, as well as we've tried to highlight some of the legislative timelines during the election itself. In looking at Bill 20, Edmonton's election's very initial and high-level analysis is aimed at identifying the impacts on operational implementation. Here, these changes are presented in terms of changes that we foresee as having substantive, moderate, and minimal operational impacts, and we will then identify potential impacts on voters. In terms of substantive operational impacts, we've identified the following. The Permanent Electors Register, which makes preparing a Permanent Electors Registry mandatory for all municipalities, using information contained in the Provincial Electors Registry and supplemented by information obtained by the municipality. And so this will not only impact and require infrastructure to store and receive that information and maintain it securely, but also it will impact our voting processes on Election Day and at advance voting and all voting processes. The prohibition of alternative voting equipment actually will prohibit the use of automated voting equipment, and our understanding that also includes our assisted voting vote terminals, and those are the terminals that we've historically used at advance vote to enable individuals who may have physical disabilities to vote independently at the voting station, in addition to changing our count procedures. The recount threshold has changed, and so there's now a mandatory recount if the candidate with the second highest number of votes requests a recount, and the difference between the candidate with the highest number of votes and the candidate with the second highest number of votes is within 0.5% of the total votes cast for that office, and only the second highest, the candidate with the second highest vote can make that request, and it must be within 48 hours of the statement of results, so that would be by noon on Sunday following election day. There are changes to campaign finance and campaign disclosure annual reporting. So in addition to the changes in terms of what entities can finance candidates, there are also increased reporting requirements and disclosure requirements. Annual statements will be required for all candidates who have declared their intention to run. And must be posted online indefinitely with sensitive candidate and official agent information redacted. The campaign period has been extended. The campaign period would begin on January 1st following the year of a general election and end on December 31st of the year of an election. And so currently the campaign period is from January 1st of the election year to December 31st of the election year. Local parties, political parties and slates of candidates. So the legislation that's currently drafted permits local parties and slates of candidates. Currently, the definition of slates of candidates and financing rules regarding both slates of candidates and political parties are to be determined in regulation. Protection of personal information. So there are new requirements to protect candidate information and nomination forms that must be made available to the public during business hours, as well as candidate and contributor address information on campaign disclosures that will now be required to be listed online. We're still clarifying whether these same protections will be applied for nominators who sign nomination forms. Next slide. In terms of moderate operational impacts, and again, these are operational impacts, identification requirements, there are changes in terms of what that process will look like and what identification we can accept. And in particular, there are changes to how another elector could vouch for an elector who, in particular, they can only vouch for their address and no longer for the elector themselves. We will need to receive written notice of intent to run and also written notice of nomination for any individual who intends to be nominated or who has been nominated to provide this information to the jurisdiction. And it's just written notice before they can accept contributions or incur campaign expenses. And then we'll have to maintain a register of those candidates. And I believe that has to be posted until the year of the election, December 31st. Expansion of third-party advertisers. It broadens the definition of election advertising by third-party advertisers to include taking a position on a vote, on a bylaw or a question, and applies to requirements. So I think this section, my understanding is it just makes it the same across the board for third-party advertisers wanting to support or oppose a candidate taking a position on an issue, but it also applies to a vote on a bylaw or a question. So there's been an expansion of and changes to special ballot applications. So in Bill 20, it would permit any elector in the permanent register to apply to vote by special ballot for any reason. But it also adds requirements for a witness who has to be an eligible elector to the elector's signature, so the voter on one of the parts of the application. I won't get into all of the details, but that's an additional step for the voter, and it adds a restriction that the elector may send the completed special ballot package to the returning officer, and it's only the elector that can do that. It prohibits the use of a drop box or a central collection point for special ballots. It requires outer envelopes to be opened in the presence of candidates, official agents, or scrutineers if present. And just to be clear, this is actually a process that currently happens outside of Election Day. So it would require us to set up kind of public viewing times for that step in the process, because it's actually the receipt of the ballot back from the elector. And it requires the returning officer to verify that the elector's signature on the certificate matches the signature of their ID if the ID contains a signature. In terms of minimal operational impacts, the ministerial powers regarding emergencies, although if this was used, it would be quite significant, it is actually something that has, we were looking for clarity on. So the minister can extend or adjourn voting times in the event of an emergency. And then there's been a slight change to candidate eligibility. An individual is not eligible to be nominated if they're employed by the Office of the Ombudsman on nomination day unless the person takes a leave of absence. So that's similar to an employee of a municipality or another public body. And the option to require a criminal record check, if this is required in our bylaw, this would just be another document we would collect as part of the nomination process. In terms of potential impacts on eligible electors, I might repeat some of the items I've already spoken to, but this is where we see the direct impact on voters. The ability to access special ballots, so there is increased access, but there's increased steps that need to be taken for oversight. The changes to ID requirements, the prohibition of the use of voting tabulators or voting equipment does limit our ability to use the automark or assisted voting terminals, and that would impact voters. The permanent electors register could increase wait times at voting stations. Potential for campaigning in voting stations, some of those changes have, prohibitions have been removed from the legislation, so we do believe that could impact voters. We are wanting to prepare voters for delayed results reporting. There will be increased complexity of the ballot and voting process. And in Edmonton, the voter experience will have changed significantly from the past 20 years. And I'll now pass it over to Nancy Jacobson.
Thanks, Tara. So in addition to the changes to the Local Authorities Election Act, Bill 20 also proposes changes to the Municipal Government Act. Most of these changes relate to governance, with a few related to planning and assessment and taxation. In the order they are presented in the bill, the changes to the MGA include: in addition to mandatory disclosure and abstaining from voting on matters in which a councillor has a pecuniary interest, members of council may declare, and may is intentional here, that they have a real or perceived conflict of interest based on a private interest in a matter before council. If that conflict of interest is declared, the councillor may abstain from discussing and voting on the item or may leave the room, and that disclosure will be noted in the meeting minutes. If a member of council becomes ineligible to continue to hold office for specified reasons and does not resign immediately as required by the MGA, council may now declare the councillor disqualified and their seat becomes immediately vacant. This would apply if a councillor fails to file a campaign disclosure statement as required by the Local Authorities Election Act, becomes a judge, member of parliament, or member of the Legislative Assembly, is absent for all meetings in a 60-day period unless it is an approved leave, is convicted of certain criminal offenses, or becomes an employee of a municipality. It does not apply to some of the other reasons that may disqualify a councillor, such as voting on a matter when or not voting on a matter when required to do so, or failing to disclose a pecuniary interest. If Cabinet determines it is in the public interest to do so, Cabinet may either dismiss a councillor from office or direct the city manager to conduct a vote of the electors regarding the councillor's dismissal. A virtual participation option for public hearings becomes mandatory. This is consistent with Council's practice, however, minor bylaw amendments will be required to fully comply with the proposed changes. Attendance at council orientation will also become mandatory, and some parts must be completed prior to or at the inaugural organizational meeting, which takes place immediately after the swearing in. The council orientation and training policy will be reviewed and updates recommended to align with these changes before the 2025 general election. Recall petitions will now be submitted and determined whether or not they are sufficient by the minister instead of the chief administrative officer. And Cabinet may pass regulations directing a municipality to amend or repeal a bylaw, and Cabinet may issue orders to a council directing council to take certain actions to protect public safety or health. In addition to the governance changes, Bill 20 also amends sections dealing with assessment and taxation and planning. A new exemption is added for non-profit subsidized housing from municipal and education property taxes. A new authority is given to council to pass a bylaw to defer or fully or partially exempt properties to encourage residential development and housing. A single public hearing will only be permitted for residential development applications. Administration will consider how this rule will apply in situations where a public clearing is closed and subsequently reopened, or when a bylaw is referred back to administration for additional work. And regulations may be created in the future restricting the types of studies that the development authority may request prior to development approval. Any impacts on the zoning bylaw will need to be assessed when and if this authority is used. Overall, we need time to review these proposed changes in details, including any amendments that may be introduced in the House, and will provide further information to Council as needed. Any necessary changes to bylaws will come forward before the end of the year. We're happy to answer any questions you have about the bill.
Thank you so much. Can someone move that we extend the order till 12:15? So we can.
Moved.
Thank you. Please vote second. Need a second?
Second?
Thank you. Please vote.
We're just sending out the vote now.
Yeah.
Sorry, point of order.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone my earhead cut out. What are we voting on?
Just extending the order for another 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, for me.
Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Okay.
We're just waiting for 2 more votes. Councillor Jans and
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Councillor Paquette? Councillor Paquette?
Yes.
Thank you so much. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Okay, that is carried. So we won't have time for questions. So you want to, how do you suggest we send it over to next council meeting, this report?
Yeah, if you could just postpone it, when we'll take it over.
Okay, can someone move that we postpone this item to next council, please?
So moved.
Second.
No time for questions today. I know we'll deal with 7.1 as part of 7.1. When we receive that we will deal with Andrew's motion when we receive 7.1 for information. He can make a subsequent motion there. Okay, thank you. So please vote.
That was Hamilton Knack, sending the vote now.
Yes, for me, Karen.
Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Tang.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette.
Yes.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Can someone move we receive 7.1 for information?
So moved.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Stevenson, second by Councillor Paquette. Okay, please vote.
Yes.
Yes, for Tang.
I'm a yes.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Okay, now to Councillor Knack for subsequent.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I'll move that the mayor, on behalf of Edmonton City Council, advocate to the provincial government that Bills 18 and 20 be rescinded in order to complete meaningful engagement with Edmontonians, municipalities, including both Alberta municipalities and the rural municipalities of Alberta, post-secondary institutions, municipal administrators, and returning officers.
Second.
Second.
I'll go to Councillor Tang for a second for that.
Yeah.
As two members of municipality, Alberta Munis. Got it. Okay, can you make the introduction quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I should note that this is very much about doing the engagement part. This is not about expressing our personal opinions or even council's collective opinions on those pieces of legislation. I clearly have my own views on those. I've expressed those. This is very much about what groups like Alberta Municipalities, like RMA, have been asking for, which is a thorough engagement process with affected partners on both of these pieces of legislation to make sure that we're taking into account all the factors that could impact this. We just had a presentation about some of the impacts that we'll see to our returning officers in terms of even just administering elections. Have we understood in full the unintended consequences of these decisions? So we need to make sure that that work is being done thoughtfully. In questions we heard earlier today of the president of Alberta Municipalities, we had heard through question period that the minister has been in engagement. To date, it sounds like that actually hasn't happened since some previous statements. So again, I think at this point it's quite clear that there's a significant need for substantially more engagement to really understand all of this, to work on the issues that I think do exist, and also to maybe help refine some of the areas that were quite good, like the mandatory training for councillors. So it's needing to make sure we've gone through those steps, understood it, brought all of the appropriate parties to the table beyond a phone call. This needs to be a really detailed, thoughtful process. So if this is rescinded for the spring session, the hope would be over the next few months, there would be an opportunity to really thoroughly go through this. And if the provincial government is very interested in still having something in place for the 2025 election, making sure the engagement has been completed between now and the fall sitting so that they can bring something forward in the fall sitting that has actually taken into account all the perspectives that have been shared, including in the provincial government's own survey. So I'll leave it there. Again, this is not about our own personal opinions on the legislation. This is about doing thorough and thoughtful engagement on two very critical pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. All right, we can go to vote. Please vote.
Yes, for me.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Yes.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Any motions pending? No, none. Notes of motions?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, there's one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Oh, what is it? Oh, such, of course, yeah. Changing the schedule.
Yeah, I move that council waive the rules on providing notice of motion as set out in section 32 of bylaw 1855, council procedures bylaw, to allow Councillor Salvador to make a motion without notice regarding changes to the May 2024 council calendar.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cardinal seconded it. Please vote.
Yes, for me.
Thanks, Councillor Tang.
Yes for me.
Thank you, Councillor Jans.
Okay.
Or not.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Rutherford.
Yes.
Thanks so much. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Councillor Salvador.
I'll move that the Tuesday, May 14th, 2024 Agenda Review Committee meeting from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. be canceled. Two, that the orders of the day for the Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 Urban Planning Committee meeting be changed to adjourn at noon. And three, that a special City Council meeting be scheduled on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 from 1:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the purpose of procurement and contractual updates.
Second by Councillor Stevenson. Please vote.
In favor.
Thanks, Councillor Jans.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Just waiting for 2 more votes. 1 more
Yes.
vote. Thank you so much. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Any other notes or motions or motions or customary notice? I see none, right? We are adjourned at 12:11. See you at 1:30.